Hi, welcome to my video on word problems with fractions. Let's utilize the operations on fractions, but this time we're putting it into word problems, which we have to read, comprehend, see what's going on, and do the math on it. Well, let's try. I have made up 8. This is the first one. The height of a river was recorded on 2 days in the summer. June the 30th, the river was 6 meters high, and August the 31st, it was 3 1/4. So, what was the monthly drop in the height? So we have meters. So it started off at 6 in June, and it dropped. So that means we gotta take it away. So when we subtract 6 subtract 3 1/4, we have 5 and 4/4. The reason is 4/4 because 4 is the common denominator in 3 1/4. So 6 is made up of, 6 is made up of 5 plus 1. And another name for 1 is 4/4. So 5 and 4/4 is 6. Because we have common denominators of 4, we're able to subtract our fractions. 4 subtract 1 is 3. 5 subtract 3 is 2. So the drop in the height is 2 3/4 meters. 2 3/4. Now, it was 2 months reading, so we have to take the 2 3/4 and divide it by 2, because we want the monthly drop. So that means it's like finding the average. Did it drop, like 2 3/4 in 1 month, or we read it only 2 times, so we had to divide by 2. 2 is, we're doing the average. So we make it 2 times 4 is 8, times 3 is, or 2 times 4 is 8, plus 3 is 11/4 divided by 2. And that's 11/4 times 1/2 as a reciprocal. That makes it 11/8. So 8 into 11 goes 1, and 3 left over, 3/8. So the monthly drop was 1 3/8 meters. Let's do number 2. A car drove for 4 3/4 hours at a speed of 120 kilometers an hour. How far did the car travel? So we're talking about distance, we're talking about time, and we're talking about a rate. So there's a formula that says distance equals rate times time. D for distance, R for rate, T for time. So how far did it travel? Well, that's my D. 4 3/4 hours. 4 3/4 hours go in the place of time, and we multiply by. The rate is 120 kilometers per hour. So that's 120 kilometers, km, per hour. When we multiply rate times time, I'm putting, normally you would see just 120 times 4 3/4. But I'm putting the kilometers over hours as your rate, because it's distance divided by time is rate, and multiplying by time. So what happens, instead of just doing this, I wrote it down this way. Notice, because you're multiplying, the hours cancel out. So that means you're left with kilometers. So if we work this out over on the side rather than here, the numbers work out. Let's see, 120 times 4 times 4 is 16, plus 3 is 19/4. And we put the 120 over 1, 4 goes into 4 once, 4 into 120, 30. And 30 times 19, you can use your calculator. 30 times 19 gives you, let's see, 19 times 30 is 0. 3 nines are 27, you got to carry 2. So it's 570 kilometers. That's the distance that they traveled. But notice how I work this out. I just showed you. We'll do a unit on ratios and that and show you how all this will come together here when you cancel these, the same as you cancel fractions. So 570 is the answer for the distance. Third problem, a 48-gallon tank was 5/8 full. 2/3 of the remaining amount to fill it was added. How many gallons are needed to fill the tank completely? Well, we have 48 gallons in the tank that was 5/8 full. So that means 48 gallons times 5/8. That will give us the number of gallons that was in the tank. So we multiply, put it over 1, 8 into 8 goes 1, 8 into 46 goes, 8 into 48 goes 6. So 6 times 5 gives me 30. So if it's 5/8 full, that means it has 30 gallons in the tank. So if it's 30 gallons in the tank, that means if it was 48 and now we have 30, by subtracting, we will get 18 gallons. So that's the number of gallons that's left to fill in the tank. It says 2/3 of the remaining amount is to be added. So if 18 is left to fill, 2/3 of that was added. So 2/3 of 18, put 18 over 1, 3 into 3 goes 1, 3 into 18 goes 6. So we have added 12 gallons was added to that. So if 12 gallons was added, that means there was 18 to go, 12 was added, so that means there's 6 gallons left to completely fill the tank. You have to read the word problems carefully and see what's going on. Just be careful. Number 4, Jane picked strawberries on different days of the week. Day 1, 4.5. Day 2, 3 3/4. So on. 5. Day 4, 3 1/4. What was Jane's average number of liters picked daily? The average number. Now we know if you think about the average is the total divided by the number. So what we have to do is find her total number of liters of strawberries that were picked. So the total number was 4.5, add on 3 3/4, add on 5, add on 3 1/4. And I'm working it out with a pencil, so you can use a calculator, but I don't want to make sure I'm using my math. Work the pencil. Common denominator for 4, 4, and 2 is 4. So that means 1/2 is 2 over 4 because we multiply by 2 over 2. 2 times 1, 2 times 2. That already has a 4, 3 over 3 and 3/4. The common denominator is 4. Leave to 5 as is. And 3 1/4, common denominator is 4. So when we add all these up, we have 8, 7 is a 15. The common denominator is 4, so we get 4 is my denominator, 2, 3 is 5, and 1 is 6. So we get 15. Notice 7, 12, 15, and 6 over 4. 6 over 4 is 3 over 2 when I divide 2 into both of them. So 15 and 6 over 4 is the same as 15 and 3 over 2. 3 over 2 is the same as, if you notice, we can add these, is 1 and 1/2. 2 into 3 goes once, 1 left over. So 3 over 2 is 1 1/2. So 15 plus 1 1/2 makes it 16 and 1/2. So that was the total number of berries picked. liters of berries picked. So if we take the total number of liters that we picked in 4 days and divide it by the number of days, we will get, on an average, how many she picked each day. So 16 times 2 plus 1 is 33 over 2 divided by 4, because we change our mixed number to an improper fraction. Continue, that's done. 33 over 2 times 1 over 4. 4 is a 4 over 1. Reciprocal is 1 over 4. Multiply 33 over 8. And 8 into 33 goes 4 times. 4 eighths is 32, 1 left over. So I get 4 and 1/8. So the average daily, the number of liters of berries picked on a daily basis is 4 and 1/8. Number 5, let's read the whole problem and see what's going on. The initial volume of an air balloon is 600 cubic feet. If the balloon rose in the air, the volume was 1.5 times its initial volume. Okay, that means it's larger. It's 600, 1 1/3 is more than this, so that's making it bigger, so we got to multiply. That's like saying if it was twice, it would be 600 times 2. So 1 1/3 is going to multiply by 600. Okay, so 600 cubic feet multiplied by 1 1/3. We change the 1 1/3 to an improper fraction. 1 times 3 plus 1 is 4 over 3. 600 is over 1. 3 into 3 goes once. 3 into 600 is 200. So we have 800 cubic feet of air in the balloon. Now, let's see what happens. On landing, its volume decreased by 1/2 its initial volume. So it went down by 1/2 of its initial. So its initial volume, so we got a 1/2 of its initial. So the initial was 600. So we have to multiply 1/2 of 600. But over 1, 2 into 2 goes once, 2. So we know that a half of 600 is 300 cubic feet. But it says it decreased when it landed. The volume was decreased. So watch the wording. 1/2 is initial. So if it was up in the air and it had 800 and it decreased by 300, that means when it landed on the ground, it had 500 cubic meters of air. 500 cubic feet of air, sorry. Read very carefully. Read the initial volume is 600, half of that. So just be careful. A runner ran a 30-mile marathon in 6 2/3 hours. What was the average speed of the runner? Again, we got a distance problem. Just vary. But we know that distance equals rate times time. You've heard we had one problem just then like it. But this time, what was the average speed? So it doesn't mean that, if you hear the word average, it doesn't mean that he could have ran fast at the beginning, then he slowed down, but the average over all of the 30. It's not that he ran the same speed all the time. That would be, I would say, almost impossible. But so therefore, if you take, it says the average speed, so that's your rate. So that's your R. So if I take the rate is your distance divided by your time. So if that's a multiplication, then if I divide the distance by the rate, I'll get my time. Sorry, if I divide the distance by the time, I'll get my rate. So the distance is 30 miles, MI for miles, and the time is 6 2/3 hours. So if I work that out, I will have miles per hour. So let's go over on the side and take 30 and divide it by 6 2/3. That's 30 divided by 3 6 are 18 plus 2 is 20 over 3. So that's 30 times reciprocal, 3 over 20. 10 and the 20 goes 2, 10 and the 30 goes 3, and 30 is understood to be over 1, so I get 9 over 2. 9 divided by 2 is 4 and 1 left over, so it's 4 1/2. So the average speed is 4 1/2 miles per hour. 4 1/2 miles per hour. Number 7. A picnic has the following food. Steaks, 22 of them, and this is the weight. Lobsters, 14, there's the weight. Chicken breast, 30 of them, and there's the weight. So that means if you have all this food, we want to know, it says, if 3 7/8 pounds were not eaten, how many pounds were eaten? So that means we got to find the total and subtract what was not eaten. We'll find out what was eaten. So we had steak, 22, and they weighed 3/4 of a pound. We had 14 lobsters, and they weighed 1 3/8 of a pound. We had 30 chicken, and they weighed 7/16, which is a little over half a pound, because 8 out of 16, little less than little less than a pound. So if we multiply these out, we'll get the amount of steak was eaten, lobster was eaten, and chicken breast. So let's multiply 20 over 1. 2 into 4 goes 2. 2 into 22 goes 11. We get 33 over 2, and that's 16 1/2. Notice 11 times 3 is 33. 2 into 33 is 16 and 1 left over. And we have 14 times 8 plus 3 is 11 over 8. Notice, and with 14 is over 1. We divide by 2 again because it's even. We get a 4 and a 7. When we multiply, we get 7 times 11 is 77 over 4. And if you use your calculator or I use my pen, 4 into 7 goes once. 1 times 4 is 4. 7 minus 4 is 3. How many 4s are in 37? Well, 4 8s are 32. 4 9s are 36. And we get 1 left. So we get 19 1/4. And we multiply 30 by 7 over 16. 2 is even. So 2 into 30 goes 15. 2 into 16 goes 8. And we get 15 times 7, which is 105 over 8. And divide 8 into 105. 8 into 1 can't go. 8 into 10 goes once. Put the 1 above the 0. 1 times 8 is 8. Subtract and I get a 2. Then I bring down my 5. 8 into 25 goes 3 8s are 24. And I get a 1. So I get 13 and 1 over 8. So notice now, this is the number of pounds for the steak. This is the number of pounds for the lobster. This is the number of pounds of chicken breast. If you add all these up, you'll get the amount of food that was at the picnic. And if you notice that the common denominator is 8. The common denominator is 8. So 1/2 is a 4 out of 8. So you multiply by 4 over 4. 1/4 you multiply by 2 over 2. So it gives you 2 over 8. 1/8 is already the LCD, so we don't have to change it. So notice 2, 4, and 8, the LCD is an 8. Now that we have all these the same denominator, we add. And when we add these, we will get 35, 45, 48. When we add all the fractions, the common denominator is 8, we get 6 plus 1 is 7. So that's the total amount of food that was eaten. And we take all the food that was eaten and subtract what was not eaten, which is 3 and 7/8, we'll get the amount of food that was eaten. So notice 7 over 8 subtract 7 out. 7 over 8 cancels out 0. 48 subtract 3. So there was 45 pounds of food eaten at the picnic. Again, this is probably just made up by me. Variation, using fractions, using your thinking, and trying to make you work your fractions a little bit better. Number 8, final one. A circle is shaded with 4 colors. No overlapping. So what we have is a circle, and we have from the center, let's say like this. So we got red, we got blue, we got green. So that's 3 colors. It says, what part of the circle is shaded orange? So what's left here must be orange. So 1/5 is red, 3/8 is blue, 3/10 is green. So remember, a whole circle is one circle. So if I take the red, which is 1/5, and I take the blue, which is 3/8, and the green, which is 3/10, if I add these 3 colors up, the fraction that's being used, then I'll have adding these up and subtracting from 1 will give me the fraction that is used for orange. And a common denominator for 5, 8, and 10. Well, I can see a 40. I can see a 5. 8 is 2 times 2 times 4, which is 2 times 2. So that's 2 cubed. 10 is 2 times 5. So I see a 2 and a 5. I see 2 is 1 here, 3 here, so I take the highest exponent. There's a 5 in a 5, and there's a 5 and 10, but there's only one of them, so 8 times 5, I see an LCD of 40. That means I multiply the first fraction by 8 over 8. I multiply the middle one by 5 over 5. And that gives me 15 over 40. And I multiply 3/10 by a 4 over 4. Because 4 times 10 is 40, 5 times 8 is 40, and 5 times 8 is 40. So if you divide 5 into 40, you get 8. If you divide 8 into 40, you get 5. If you divide 10 into 40, you get 4. So when you're finished, you have an 8 over 40. 5 times 3 is 15 over 40. 3 times 4 is 12 over 40. And you have all the fractions over the same denominator, so keep the denominator. And 8 plus 15 is 23. 10 is 33. You have a 35. And that 35 out of 45 is common, so 5 reduces down into that 7. 5 into 40 goes 8. So you have 7/8. So 7/8 is the total part taken up by the red, blue, and orange. So there's the whole circle is 1. So 1 subtract 7/8 gives you the fraction that's left for the orange. Another name for 1 is 8 over 8. And why 8 over 8? Because 8 is your common denominator. So 8 over 8 has the same denominator. So 1 is 8 over 8. Common denominator is 8. So 8 subtract 7 is 1. So that means the orange is 1/8 of the shaded part of the circle. That's a few word problems on with fractions in it, just to keep you thinking. Hope you like my video, and if you do, don't forget, click on the word like, click on subscribe, click the notification bell, write a comment if you wish, and visit my website, www.mathfullyexplained.com. You'll find information about me, degrees, experience in teaching math, and also if on the topic of videos, you find the teaching strategies that I'm using to help you learn. I've been quite successful in my teaching, and I help many students succeed to have success in math. And also you'll see the content that's going to be on my YouTube channel. You get to see the topics, the number of videos on the topics. The topics completed are in black. The topics to be completed are in red. Thank you for viewing. Bye-bye.